Hi everyone, welcome to Tag Talk. This is episode 11. We're discussing iBallz 3, and welcome to the home. I've cocked that up, haven't I? I need to do the home of content-free content, don't I? Yeah, halfway through. Yeah, right. That's going
It
in the
was going
outtakes, isn't
so
it?
well. Almost there. Just
I realised then that I'd not said the home of content-free content.
yes.
Ah, dear. Right,
Well,
let's
the
try
more
that again. Hi everyone, welcome to Tag Talk, home of the most content-free Nerf content on YouTube. This is episode 11, and we are talking about iBallz 3. So over to Adam, who is the host.
Hey everyone, I'm Adam. I need to remember about iBallz 3 because it was a couple of weeks ago. So on first of was it the first? I have. When was it? Because I
It
cannot.
was it was the first
It was
Saturday
the
in
first.
February.
Adam, how many weeks have you had to prepare for this?
I've been
Yes.
busy with work.
Professionalism.
Yes, absolutely professional. So iBallz 3 is our third visit to the iCombat venue in Leeds, which is a indoor laser tag arena. We went on the 1st of February, Saturday evening, and we did a 3-hour session. And iBallz is my rival-only event. Obviously, I for iCombat, Balls because it's rival. And our first event was
About
20,
18 months ago, wasn't it? Something like
yeah,
that.
about 18 months ago. We had 9 players, and there was some issues with music, which was terrible. So we did iBallz 2 last year, about November time, which we called Bangra Boogaloo, because the music which was bad was Bangra, and we did it with no music for iBallz 2, where we had 19 players, which is a bit busy for that venue because it's quite compact CQB arena over multiple floors, which we'll cover in a minute or two. So iBallz 3, we had 15 paid players. But unfortunately, Ninja Han had to pull out at the last minute. So we had 14 players on the day, which is nice, 7 per team, which is about a sweet spot for that venue. I reckon we can get to 16 to 8 per team would be okay. Any more than that, and it's getting a bit cramped and a bit target heavy. So the arena itself is obviously set up as a laser tag arena, so it's very dark, UV lights everywhere, and it is over 2 floors, or 2 main floors. So you enter the arena through a door in the middle, and there are immediately ramps to each side going upstairs, and a ramp in front of you going upstairs as well. There's a kind of a U-shaped courtyard around the ramps where there's a car. And then one side of the arena is kind of small rooms connecting to each other, and above is kind of large open spaces that connect to each other. On the back side, upstairs is a long corridor, which for rival is wonderful because you get on there with Percy's on a Nemesis or a Jupiter, Outward Jupiter, and you can spray balls and just suppress the other team. On the other side,
Sorry, yeah, just to jump in there, Adam, there are a couple of little stairwells on that back corridor,
yeah,
so you do get some really good crossfire up there.
yeah. On the other side, it's multiple levels. So it starts in what is marked, I think, as an underground station, which then has stairs going up. It has kind of this dead end bunker with meshing that you can't fire through, but gives you a nice view of the courtyard. There's the upstairs, there's kind of a sub level with a nice open, I want to say veranda, but it's not a veranda, kind of balcony. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Which gives you a view down over the courtyard of the ramp, and you can see over to the other side. And then that obviously then goes up onto the main corridor at the back. From Each side, there are kind of open windows you can shoot through and big gaps. And it's a perfect distance between each side that Rival is just losing its accuracy at that range. So you can fire across and have probably what 1 in 3 chance of hitting somebody.
Yeah.
But it's not a guaranteed hit. So it's not like with shot dart, you should be shooting and pretty much guaranteed, you're going to hit somebody. You can put a full Percy's hopper down there and maybe hit somebody. Or you could put full Percy's hopper there and hit 2 or 3 people hiding over there. So it's a really nice range for that, from the upstairs. Obviously, like I said, it's dark, it's got UV lights. And what we need to remember every time we go is we have to ask them to turn the big lights on, which are their maintenance lights, which then give us a bit more light in the arena. One thing we did this event was we took little LED reactor lights, which I haven't got to hand. I was going to show them. Partly because it was one of the later game types, but also just to provide some additional lighting in the arena, which I'm sure is going to look silly on the video, but we'll get to that. So one reason, like I say, we do the rival there is for the range, makes it really effective or ineffective. Also makes it super easy to tidy up. Rival goes down the ramps and puddles at the bottom, and there are ramps multiple places. On each side, I think there are 3 ways up. So you've got 3 main ramps, each one's got a stairwell, and there's another ramp at the back. And is there another one?
There's one that's kind of half stairway, half ramp that goes around the back right-hand corner.
Yeah, so there's quite a few ways to get from the ground floor up to the top floor, but it means Rivals really sweep up there because it kind of gathers. So we get the nut gatherers out, roll them across the ground, and a dart sweep takes 5 minutes to pick up 3,000 balls. It's super efficient there, which obviously then means we can get more games in because you're not spending the time trying to get the ammo. One thing we added for iBallz 2 and iBallz 3 was a limit on full auto. Obviously, most of us have Percy's or Nemesis or full auto blasters, and they can absolutely dominate that venue. If you can keep them topped up, you can just suppress from one side of the arena to the other. You might not be hitting anyone, but you're stopping people moving. So by limiting it to 2 full autos per player, per team, per player would be quite fun. It stops those becoming too dominant. So yeah, it's a really nice venue. Like I say, that's the third time we've hired it. We've kind of built a rapport up with the venue, which means we can then not so much get cheaper access to it, but easier access on the deposits. First time we went, it was 100% up front, then 2/3 up front. This time it's 50% up front, so much easier for me to deal with in terms of getting the event booked up and advertise and getting money in for a deposit. So yeah.
All right, so we're joined by Supercollide just now, has joined us there, and we're going to continue the chat. Adam's finished off his overview of the event, so why don't we talk about loadouts and what everybody took? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because mine is fairly simple. First time since iBallz ones, I took my Percy's and full auto, mainly because we ran one game where everybody could use full auto, despite what I just said about 2 players only. I took my Artemis, which is my goat for rival blasters with decent capacity. I took my Charger, which I run on rechargeable batteries, and it's worked perfectly at iBallz 1 and 2 and other events. It jammed catastrophically on the second shot, and I haven't managed to fix it yet. And I took my takedown, which I frozen for my. Oh no, I've come back. I took my takedown, which is my absolute favorite. Kind of. I want to say pistol, but it's not a pistol. But it's how I use it.
It's a rifle grip pistol, isn't
Yeah,
it? Let's be honest.
it's a really nice kind of casual, low capacity, but really well functioning rifle blaster for me. And obviously, I've got various other ones. I could have taken a Helix, I could have taken a Apollo, I could have taken a Zeus, a Helios, all these different ones. But I stick with those because they're the ones that I know work for me. And I'm not a huge fan of a Perseus personally, but it's hard to deny that it's super easy to top off and super easy to just point and pull the trigger and just hose 50 rounds down range in 10 seconds. So.
My biggest issue with the Perseus was it was such a diva with ammunition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's ultimately why I ended up passing it on. Because if you have brand new Nerf branded rival ammunition, works fine. If you've got anything that's worn or anything that is third party, then it's
which most of my pull is, yeah,
which is fair, because that's how things have to be nowadays with the scarcity of ammunition. Then it's just a case of it'll decide to randomly clog up, and no. Whereas what for me, I would have taken something like the Helix, which is essentially it's a hopper Springer,
yeah.
but it's absolutely reliable.
I used the Helix at the first iBallz. I haven't taken it to 2 and 3 because obviously with the elevation and shooting upwards at people, the Helix therefore then doesn't feed well.
No, because it's a gravity hopper.
The nice thing about the Helix though is you can adjust that hop up and make it so it can drop stuff really nicely down on people.
Yeah.
So iBallz 4, I'm going to try the Helix again. One thing you can do with Perseus is 3D printed solid sells a ramp for the back of it that helps balls feed when it's kind of getting low. Obviously, it costs a fortune to import, so I just got some Milliput and made my own. And I found since doing that, the Perseus works better for me. It just feeds that little bit more reliably.
Fair enough.
The other thing I did was I got the Worker battery adapter. So it takes out the standard Perseus battery and lets you put a LiPo in on XT60. So I run mine on a 2S. Nice big chunky 2S.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd got my nephew in tow. So I mean, not that I ever overpack and bring lots of blasters that I don't end up using to ever get any game I ever go to or anything. Honest.
No.
I was traveling heavy. I was traveling very heavy for that reason, just because I had to double up on blasters for my nephew to use. So I was rocking a Perseus, which was relatively okay until it just decided to lose all power. I haven't heavily nobbled my Perseus after flooding the postcode with rival balls at least twice at iBallz 2 because of the ridiculous hopper release. So I've nobbled that. I've made sure it works, and the switch is now held down when the hopper is on. And it just decided not to work. I think my Perseus is Perseus. So I don't know what went wrong there. My nephew tried pretty much every blaster I took, including a Saturn, including a Helix, and he settled on the Artemis because the Artemis is just the goat of rival blasters.
Yeah.
It's just reliable, bit finicky to feed, but you pull the priming handle, you press the trigger, it fires a ball reliably. Yeah. So yeah, he mostly used the Artemis and at times the Saturn. And I also, for the first game, because we were loading as before the game started, which we'll talk more about later, I took is it a Hera? The single shot mag fed Strife but rival, essentially. Just because I could do jam the magazines into the balls, and it just filled them up that way in the bucket. So I thought that was quite effective. That did me well, but I used it for that game and then put it away because it's not a blaster I get on with.
I find the Hera's trigger pull really heavy.
Yes. It also suffers from the other problems that Rival has, in that you think you fired all your rounds and then you take your mag out and it drops the last ball out.
Yes.
So, not a big fan of mag-fed Rival, I'll be honest. My main sort of loadout for the other games were I was running I got a takedown in my dump pouch, but one of FIB's kids blasters broke, so I lent that to him, and he was using that to great effect for most of the rest of the event. So I then got a non-K26 Kronos that I just used occasionally when I was reloading my main blaster, which was the absolute beast that was my monolith. That thing did some work.
Meth toddler.
Yes, I mean it was an absolute, ooh, that's on sale. I like that. I'll buy one. Meth toddler purchase late one night with a few other blasters that I will never use, but full auto, 40 rounds. It can jam a little bit like a Percy's does, but when it fires, it's straight and it's true. And the range that
I found it was straighter than Percy's. I could tell when I was getting peppered by it.
Yeah.
Because they weren't going either side of me. They were landing pretty much where I was, so I was having to duck. Yeah,
so I think that thing's a little bit more powerful than stock Rival, and it's got that absolute sweet spot between, hop up because it's at the sort of limits of its speed and not quite going off into extremes of hop up. I was getting the range that Adam was talking about on the top row earlier. I was getting shots much more frequently than people on the other side.
Yeah,
just because it was so accurate, and it did work. The rate of fire was very questionable. It sometimes went 6 balls a second. It sometimes went 1 every second or 2, and you had to give it a shake. But when it worked, by gosh, that blaster was
did an absolute corker, because you and I were just holding the point at one point with that, weren't we?
Yeah, we were holding the sort of upper parapet with the little arrow slits, and I was just tagging people down below, and then when someone came to the other side upstairs, I would switch to shooting at them, and myself and Stuart held a couple of the flux points for quite a long time at that point. So that was my absolute goat. That's what I used for most of the event. But yeah, that I cannot fault it by one.
This advertisement brought to you by
Lazarus.
So I was half expecting to bring some kids with me, but since I've rejigged everything in my garage, or pretty much all my Rival gears in one bag. So at one point I was looking at bringing both my boys with me. So it's like, right, bring everything apart from the knockouts. So I had full choice to myself this time. So first game, I think I started off with the Artemis. And then straight onto the Nemesis, which has got its own tails. It's only held together by 6 screws now.
I swear it gets less every time we speak about it.
Well, they strip every time.
Yeah.
And it's needed work every time as well. This time I found out that the feedback diode on one of the MOSFETs was never actually soldered on. It was just held in place over the wires.
I've got one like that, yes.
But it was not me wiring it initially, so so that worked well for a while. But I was finding the Nemesis trigger pull just wasn't quite working great for me that time, so I moved away from it. I spent the rest of the time on an X-Shot Orbit, which
perfectly good blaster.
Apart from the Slamfire, it is one of my favourite Rival blasters. If it had Slamfire, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's a nice little blaster, that Orbit. It's reliable.
It looks
when it jams,
nice.
It jams, but it
Yes.
does.
Oh god, yeah. Had one jam, so swapped to another blaster straight away.
Yep.
But the other thing I had on there was it was my first time trying these little beauties. So I finally went and got myself some prescription safety goggles. Very focals. I never had a thinning on there, but they're only about 70 quid all in all. And they did me fantastic the entire time. So
nice.
Yeah,
I looked into prescription safety glasses, but because I am quite genuinely blind as a bat, I basically got told we can't make your prescription. in them. Like you are like £600 lenses. And yeah, it's like no. There's probably some place in the world that could make them, but we're talking something more like Nikon camera lens type thing. I was like, nah, it's just,
That's
I'll
fake, yeah.
I'll put on my £4 safety glasses from Screwfix. Thank you very much. Yes.
Oh god, yeah, I've got a set of those as well. But yeah,
They
I'm
work.
about a -4 prescription. So I went for a couple of options that were a little bit more expensive, like the varifocals, but they were corking. So if someone's only got a lighter prescription like me, I'll thoroughly recommend them.
Yeah, definitely.
I just perhaps wouldn't run them at Dishworth, anything 200, because I'm not 100% sure at the how safety they are.
Yeah, I mean, for something like iBallz, it's fine. But no, I think I'd rather take a good old-fashioned, tried and tested model for Dishworth.
I'd want something chunky for anything 200 plus, but yeah.
Mm.
And yeah, other than that, just a branded dump pouch on the side.
I was running branded as well. It's just such a good setup.
Oh yeah, I also did have my 4 meteor grenades. The airsoft. Oh, I can't remember the name of the company now.
Fulcrum.
Fulcrum. That was it. Fulcrum airsoft meteor grenades that did come in handy in some of the footage, as we'll probably see at some point. Adam's not so much, but mine were effective.
We limited it, I think, to 2 per round.
Yeah.
And I think I used most of mine every time, but I don't think I got any good kills with them.
No.
Away it goes.
Yeah, I think the best effort we had out of those was at Highway to Hull, or to Hull and back, whichever that one was. Yeah, just
to Hull and back.
Yeah.
But that No Man's Land is just perfect for grenades. Yep.
So yeah, I was about to say that one of the things was that what I discussed was the game types, because Adam, you are particularly renowned for changing things up. You don't even follow your own rules during an event.
No, I'm going to say everything changes.
Yeah, they're more just like suggestions when it comes to game types there. But what is it that you decided to run for this particular one, and what was your thought behind some of them?
Okay, so we started with Le Morte Confirme. So one of the issues we always have with events is that first.
Sorry, timing wasn't fantastic.
I know it, but I've been trying to keep straight face and watching Stuart not keep a straight face. So yeah, Le Morte Confirme. So one of the issues we always have is that first get into a venue and everyone's chilling around, talking and loading up, and it can take 15, 20, 30 minutes out of your event just for that first load up. So I had this idea of getting straight into the venue and doing kind of like a Le Mans style start. So having everyone by the bottom ramps, giving them 30 seconds to get to their spawn point, load up at their spawn point, and then start point kill confirmed. Now, from the footage, we know that my 30-second counting is not exactly correct. I'll let you tell them how bad it was.
It wasn't even that you were counting at half speed. It was 53 seconds from the whistle to second whistle, and it was like I could have understood if it was 60 seconds, 45 seconds. No, it was 53. It wasn't. It's like it's not even a.
Wonderfully random.
What can I say? My Mississippis are obviously longer than a second. So Le Mans style starts. Everybody rushes up to the spawn point. Everyone starts loading up. In terms of getting people into the venue quickly and getting a game started, I think it worked really nicely. I would probably reduce that load up time to maybe 10, 15 seconds to really kind of stress that you have to get there, have to get loaded up, and then you're at risk. Kill confirmed. I discussed this on Facebook the other day about different types of games, and elimination games are not something everyone likes. One reason I do elimination games is because I try and do a lot of games and fast turnaround. Personally, I got wiped out by Green Hornet on the ramp. I knew he was there. I was shooting at Dazzle up in, I think it was Dazzle. It might have been either of these two. So I was shooting at somebody. I was moving down the ramp to get a better shot because I was on the takedown, didn't have a range. Got pelted by Green Hornet, and he just kill confirmed me like that. So, a victim of my own eagerness to shoot somebody. Yeah.
So were the safe zone? Were the spawn points essentially safe or not?
No.
No, it was if you can shoot someone, shoot them. If you can tag them from range, do so.
So-
they weren't really in visual zone of each other. I think if memory serves, one was downstairs, one was up.
Yeah,
One right?
is in the middle of the middle kind of layer of the multiple layer side.
Oh
The
yeah,
other one
yeah.
was at the back of the 2-layer.
Where the barrels are, yeah, on the top
So
floor.
there was no clear shot between them.
Yeah, I mean, I myself and my nephew played a bit of a blinder there because we stayed close to each other for that point of the game only, and then we didn't see each other again all day. But he got tagged early on, so I respawned him, and then I think the same happened to me. I got tagged and he respawned me, but we then realised that the person that tagged us both was on their own, and it was Fu up on the top floor with something single fire. And I'd got a flywheeler. So I managed to end Fu's career quite early. And then I think I went on and did the same to Toodles, who was not far behind him. So we played a blind. I think I was still alive at the end of that one, which makes a change for me. But yeah, a good fun start little game. I think it added some pressure. We did also have the light coloured reactors for that game that we could place wherever we liked. One of those ended up in our spawn point just so we could see what we were doing reloading. But then you'll see from the footage we pop them down in various sort of spread out locations.
Yeah.
For use at a later game.
One thing to note about that game type was we hadn't asked them to put the big lights on. So it was very dark. Which personally I liked. I don't mind dark games. I'm quite happy to play one, maybe two across an event, but not everyone. In there, it is very dark, especially at the top of stairwells. I nearly went a cropper on our bases one, where because it narrows and drops off, and I almost did a tartan and fell.
Yeah, the stairways were very, very dark. The lights, I think, are only in the middle of the arena when the maintenance lights aren't on. So if you're on the top deck, you pretty much can't see the floor anyway. And a couple of the stairwells don't have any kind of barrier to stop you sliding all the way down. There are sort of barriers sort of halfway and staggered all the way down, so you wouldn't go all the way to the bottom, but it would be very easy to slide. Yeah, pretty much, and break a bone on each.
They're just that perfect bit where they would stop you, but it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I use that darkness and the stairwells to good effect because I basically parked myself on top of one of the stairwells, taking pot shot of anyone who went past. Unfortunately, I think half the time I was shooting my own team because I hadn't quite clocked who was on my team at that point. At one point, I was out there, "Oh, Si, you're on my team." "Oh crap, no!"
No, Si was definitely not on your team.
This I realised very quickly.
What other ones did we do then, other than that?
Okay, next up was Vault Assault. So I've used some Vault Assault previous events, Nerf Mania. It's actually an old Wolfpack one. So the idea is that there is a bank vault where there are fake coins, fake money, and you can collect them one at a time, take them back to your base to score. The plan was on this one that there were 5 bank vaults in safety boxes. So had almost like camera cases, but smaller. And each of these had 4 latches on them, which proved to be incredibly difficult to open while under fire, especially when under fire from full auto. At one point, I was laid down to open one. The idea though was to have it with the death counters, with each death being a £5 penalty. So there's like £50 note bundles, £20 note bundles, £5 note bag, or £5 worth of coins in a bag, etc. I think in total there's about £575 worth of stuff for you to collect. So it would have been interesting to run it with the death counters. Unfortunately, the red one died. And I know why. It's because the battery is dead. It just doesn't work at the moment, so I need to replace the battery. For that one, we also turned off the full auto limit, so anyone could use full auto. The idea being that it would mean you are going for a bank vault and you're just going to get suppressed and pelted. Which then, obviously, with the latches that you're trying to open while under fire, becomes quite good fun. You can steal. So if you can get to the other team's spawn point, you can steal a bag or a set of notes from there. Is there anything else that was weird about this one? No. Five vaults this time. So there was one either end of the back corridor upstairs. There was one either side in underneath the spawn points. I
Sofa rooms, as we call them, I think. And then
and I can't.
Did you put one in the mesh room?
I don't know where the other one was. I think it was the dead end round the side of the one, but I can't remember. I only ever saw 2 boxes, but I did clear out one of them because it was basically down the stairwell and it was. I must have taken, I think, 6 or 7 things out of one of myself.
I would love to say I got lots of footage of me emptying a vault or at least pursuing a vault there, but I did my usual just shoot things.
Never play the objective.
So that's not true. There is footage of me flipping a flux tile. I think it's in this game
only
footage.
footage if I publish it, mate.
So I'm not to mention any trees today then.
No, actually, you know what? It's fine because Darren done the same thing on episode 10 as well. Yeah. Let's continue to attempt to be professional then, shall we?
I never agreed to that.
No, that's true. No, you did. And given the fact that I tend to call you a meth toddler, no, I think we've established professionalism was beyond each and every single one of us just now there. But no, so what other ones did we do after that then, Andy?
After Vault Assault, we had a totally new one. We'd planned to run this at iBallz 2, but ran out of time. So we ran something I'm calling Peking Duck. So I'm well known for my duck collection. I have a giant duck, which is this by this. It's huge. It comes from the Wolfpack days, so the Wolfpack players nicknamed it Big Chungus. And the idea of Peking Duck is it's a game of hot potato. So everyone for themselves. If you get shot, you're stunned for 10 seconds, and if you're carrying Big Chungus, you can hand it over to somebody. And whoever has Big Chungus at the end is the loser. It worked a lot better than I expected to. It still has issues that we're hoping to iron out in the next one. Personally, I didn't see Big Chungus. I ran upstairs. Sorry, tactical jogged upstairs. And I basically planted myself by one of the windows, looking down, and every time I saw somebody carrying Big Chungus or near somebody carrying Big Chungus, take down shot into the shoulder or back, freeze them, watched it hand over. So Big Chungus, I don't think ever came upstairs. If it did, it must have been on the other side because I never saw it come upstairs.
No, I don't think it ever did.
No, it went down to the lower area at one point, but it was mostly between the FIB kids, and I know Ross had it for
Toodles.
quite a lot, and Toodles had it quite a lot. And I think Fu ended up with it, if memory
He
serves.
did for a bit because he got me.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of it all, when we'd all clocked that being upstairs was the safest place to be, apart from the FIB lot, I know there was a lovely bit where Dazzle was right by the car, and Josh basically, because he had a 5-second freeze, and Josh had a 5-second freeze, so pretty much everyone was shooting at the same time. So Josh and Dazzle get hit at the same time, and just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we've been shot again.
Yeah.
Neither of them managed to make any headway with it whatsoever.
I think Josh secretly wanted to keep hold of Big Chunkers for the entire game, and
Well, he
realised
got
that
it
was
at the
actually
end,
Most
a
people
negative.
do, because it is hilariously
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it because it's nice to see. It's nice when a game type you've kind of dreamt up works the way you expect it to. And you hear like Toodle screaming, Big Chuckers is coming!
He's got a particular voice, hasn't he, that you can hear?
Yeah. It's a big chuckle as well, to be honest. It's one of those games, it's like HVZ, but funnier for me.
Yeah.
It's a good laugh, you know. It's, oh no, don't want the big dog, run!
But yeah, so we have plans to improve that game type for next one, which obviously we'll cover. After Peking Duck, we did Flux. 9-tile Flux. So obviously I have 5, 7, 9 tiles. I have done 8 tiles before, which was quite funny. So 9 tiles, but obviously my tiles are numbered 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 5. So rather than it being the number of tiles you control, which is what you'd normally get in Flux, this was the score based on the numbers on the tile you controlled. So you could control 5 and 4 and have almost as many as if they were controlling 3, 3, 3.
Haven't we done this one before at Nerf Mania, or done something very similar to
Similar,
this?
yes.
Yes.
I don't think we had as many tiles there because
No,
the arena
we did
isn't
5,
really supported,
and
I
we
don't think.
did with Dynamite as well.
Yeah.
So this one, 5 was in the middle by the 3 ramps. 4 was hidden off in one corner, and I think the only person who ever flipped 4 was Bonehead.
Only because I knew where it was, because you asked me to move it there.
The rest were all over the place. I did a Boneheed and didn't play the objective particularly. I was just shooting people, except from the last 20 seconds, which in Flux, the last 30 seconds is always the most interesting part, because it's when people rush for tiles, rush to get the points. And I was downstairs looking out onto the 5 tile. Dazzle came running, tactical strolling across the arena, flipped it, turned, shot one of my team on the ramp, headed off up his ramp. And this was 20 seconds to go. I rush out, flip it.
It was more like 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, so I flipped
yeah.
it, got into the room beyond, which is underneath their spawn, started the 10-second countdown. And you could hear them, I could hear them upstairs going, just change the tile. I could hear my team going, quick, we need to get the 5 tile. Not realizing I'd just changed it. It was really the best 10 seconds of a game I think I've had in a long while. And we get to the end of it, Dazzle's like, somebody's flipped that tile. It's like, yes, I did. I literally came back. But yeah, I joked about it at the start. I love Flux because I never know what's happening. You never know how well you're controlling these tiles, and it's all down to that last minute. So it's one of the games I absolutely adore. I have no idea what the score was. I don't actually know who won any of these games. But I know it was just that last 20 seconds was just bliss in terms of a game type for me.
I'll be honest, Adam. I don't think it really matters who won any of the games because it was one of the most fun, varied events I've been to. I mean, I realise I'm relatively new to the hobby, but every single game type I enjoyed, even if I just did my usual let's shoot people, including shooting Toodles in the nipple about 3 times. With their monolith, because he actually, I said to someone after the first time, does this feel hot to you? Because obviously I'd hit him in a fleshy area, he'd screamed, and they said, "Oh no, it's fine." But yeah, I just managed to have a perfect aim for some reason.
Yeah, I think we'll cover perfect aim later on with me and Dazzle.
I think Flux. On you go, Stu. On you go.
I was going to say when it comes to winning or losing, I think the best thing was that how it all played, none of the teams actually felt like they were overpowering each other, despite the scoring or not. I know we scored the money one, and in all, it was way closer than you thought it was going to be. So yeah,
and I'd rather lose and be close than win and it be a whitewash. I always say this because for me, just being around friends and playing is hugely important. I'd rather lose but have a lot of fun doing it than win and just know that I've absolutely wiped the floor with people.
Yeah. This event felt really balanced for me as well. It did. There was a few swaps about with teammates and team members and stuff at certain points, but it did feel a lot more balanced than other events I've been to. So I think that was done really well.
I think there was only one Rolf stomp, and we knew why that happened.
Yeah.
And I think we sort of covered this right at the start, which is I think the decision to make it rival only was a great equalizer because the nature of the ammunition is it's accurate for a particular range. After that, it becomes increasingly inaccurate, and therefore it's well suited to a CQB environment where if you were to have a one dual short dart in that, you could thread the needle on certain shots across the arena, and that could be greatly discourable.
I still want to try short darts in there.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't. Saying. I think it'd be too accurate. Whereas rival, because everyone's got the same gear essentially, and that 20-30 foot is your max range effectiveness, it does equal it up nicely. So yeah,
I think. Sorry, just on short darts, Adam. I think if we do that, it's going to make the 2 top balconies on either side no man's land.
Yes.
Because you're just going to be able to snipe from one side of the arena to the other. So as much as I want to try it, I don't think it'll be as enjoyable as Rival.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'd second that.
So after Flux, we did another new type called Deathlight. So obviously everyone had got a green reactor light. I also had some purple ones. And the idea of Deathlight was you form a 3-man squad, you try and get around the arena as quick as possible, deactivating these reactors. And it's essentially humans versus zombies, but with a mission as well. Similar to what we tried at to Hell and Back with the vials, but this time with reactor lights. First game was.
Do we need to clarify that it was only 3 on a team, and then all of us being chased by everyone as
zombies? Yeah. So
you were already going to fail.
Yes,
is the short answer.
It was how quickly would you fail?
Yeah.
So first round was Dazzle and his 2 kids. So Josh, Super Bomber Boy, and Paige, who I'm calling Shadow because every time I saw her, she was Dazzle's Shadow and super effective at it. Because we gave them kind of we weren't sure as zombies where to be and where they were going to go. They got about 8 or 9. I'm watching you, Boneheed. They got 8 or 9 of the reactors before they got caught. we've ended, I think, 2 or 3 more goes with different players in the team. And I think the most anyone else got was 3 lights because the zombies just knew where they were going to go, the route they were going to take out of the room. So again, it's similar to something we tried to Hell and Back. I like the idea. It just doesn't work.
The first thing that would jump in would it work if you gave the zombies only 1 life?
No. Well, it might.
Because the whole idea is that you can get rushed by them pretty quickly and you're going to get swamped. But if every zombie only had 1 life,
they might be more reluctant to.
because it's a case of, yeah, sure, you can charge headlong at them, but one of the team's going to have a full auto and they're going to wipe it out, at which point in time, if you survive that initial rush by them, you've got what, 3 or 4 zombies left over? At which point in time, then it's just a case of who can sprint around the arena the fastest, which is basically going to be TBR.
Yeah. I think one of the other problems with that game type for me was just that we knew where all the lights were. So as zombies, you just congregated around the lights, and it just made it so much easier to nom on the.
We had that first game, and it was clear that everyone was like, okay, what are the rules? What are we doing here? But after that, it was just shut down in seconds.
Yeah.
But you tried it. Didn't work.
Yeah.
And no doubt, Adam, you'll go back to the drawing board and try it again with
and come up with some variant. Yes.
I was just going to say on that point though, I think if we'd had a smaller amount of players at Nerf Mania, I think that being a little bit more open and not so many levels would have been a bit more interesting. Because I think, if you got your shots off there fast enough, you'd be able to freeze the zombies and get round a bit more.
Yeah, because it's very easy to get blocked in at iBallz.
Yeah, whereas
it's all corridors. Yeah,
Nerf Mania, you had every place had multiple exits to it.
Yeah,
I think there was apart from like the train and like the radio building, which were two entrances. Most places had multiple routes in and out.
Yeah.
I think with Nerf Mania as well, the places are a lot more defensible for people. People with blasters can cover themselves a lot better than the iBallz place, just because the iBallz place has that many corners and that many narrow passages that you don't know if something's right around the corner. Whereas Nerf Mania, you can look out of the train and see, is there anyone in that direction? And that's true for both sides, really.
Again, like we say, it's something we've tried.
Mm-hmm.
It's got. I still think the game type has legs. I just need to figure out how to make it work. So it's on the back burner for now, but we'll come back to it at some point in the future.
It did strike me very much.
It was still fun.
Exactly. Yeah, it struck me very much as a video game style mission.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't think of anything off the top of my head, like Raid in the Resident Evil things. Okay, whereas basically you have an oncoming horde, but one of the things is that when you take down a zombie in those video games, they're out. They're no longer a threat. So therefore, even if you are like myself, somebody that simply can't sprint around, but I could take enough firepower where I'm going to be able to take down most of them. It's a case of, yeah, sure, run at me if you want, but you're going to get tagged, which means I might take longer to get the objective done, but I could probably still do it,
Okay, so the last planned game type was Judgment Day. So another new one. So we started out as team deathmatch using the death counters, and I think I said it as 50 lives available with countdown. And I said that after a random amount of time, there'll be an announcement of an incoming nuclear strike, and then you have 1 minute and 1 life to get to the underground bunker. So from a team deathmatch point of view, I was on fire. I was having a blast. I think I also had as many full autos as you want on this one. I can't
I think
remember.
you did, yeah. Yeah.
So I was having a blast because the Perseus was just working wonderfully. I was at the top, moving around, getting pelted by the monolith, but not actually getting hit by it because I was taking cover. I was covering our ramp. I was covering the corridor. So I was having an absolute blast of a time. And I kept looking at my phone where I'd set a random timer, and it's like, yeah, okay, but yeah, we've still got quite a few lives. Made the announcement of a nuclear strike, and I'm like, yes, I know exactly where I'm going. I've cleared the route, went down, and I'm thinking, well, if I was me, I'd be hiding in that bunker ready in a corner to shoot whoever walked into it. Got a grenade, threw it in, didn't go off.
And David, this is where you can include the footage because although my GoPro was pointing that way instead of that way, you can see Adam's hand come around the corner, his grenade fly towards my feet, not explode, and then I tagged him point blank with the
I'm going to say,
monolith.
my idea was I was going to throw a grenade in and just rush, blast anything that moved. I tried it, and
Yeah, I mean, again, there's footage of this from my cam. The discussion before that game from most of the younger members of the team was just, why don't we just grenade the safe room just before we go in?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I threw my grenade in, it went off, and there was no one in there. And then Adam came around the corner, fail grenaded me, and I tagged him, and then we managed to get 3 or 4 of our players in there. And we got
5
enough
in the end, I think.
Yeah, I think there was 5 in there, but there was enough of us there with full auto that if anyone came down the stairwell, if anyone came around the corridor, if anyone came the other side, that we would have been able to tag them. So yeah, that was a fun game type because it did add that extra little bit of suspense and a bit of, I've got to tag people, but I've also got to make sure I'm not too far away from where I've got to get to.
Yeah, and we had a blast because I think Adam and Sai were on the opposite top layer. Boneheed and I were on our side of things. We were just taking pot shots at each other.
Yeah.
And like I say, Boneheed's
Monolith
being brilliant on that one. And I think that is the one thing I think the extra orbit's really good at. When they fire straight and true, they really do.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit slower than I think coming out than the Monolith. So you could see basically Adam's like, yep, I'm dodging this. Oh, I didn't expect that one. And Sai pretty much doing the same thing. So I think I must have taken Sai out about 6 times.
Yeah, same.
And we were just holding it. So by the time everyone else had rushed down to the bunker, I was still thinking, right, I can get down there fast without running. So I was still holding people off at the end. So no one was making it across that middle area for that last bit.
Yeah, and I think that worked in our favour because I got there like the earliest, and then people just sort of slowly trickled in. But I think if we'd not got someone covering that top area, we would have probably done a lot worse. But I absolutely
got half a second, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That Monolith and the X-Shot orbit together make a really good pairing because you've got one firing them super fast and full auto, and then the other one sort of taking the pot shots at people ducking away. So yeah, that's a combination I would be interested to try again.
I'd be very happy to try it again with you, sir.
But yeah, I can't say enough about how good that Monolith was. I think it was something like €80 on sale, which sounds a lot, but I got about 6 other blasters with it and Meth Toddler. So I wanted one, thought I'll try it out, and it turns out it's absolutely a worthwhile purchase. So I think Toodles was coveting my Monolith by the end of the event.
It was.
So.
Especially when his takedown broke. So
yes, yeah.
So after that, I haven't actually made a note of what we played. I know we played some humans versus zombies, very traditional style infection.
Yeah.
So we started with 2 or 3
zombies,
original zombies who had a stun and immunity, but couldn't run. But anyone they infected only had stun but could run. So we did a couple of rounds of that. Did we do a team deathmatch? Possibly, I can't remember.
I think we descended into some just HVZ by the end because some of the younger members of the teams were wanting to do some zombie stuff.
Yeah, we had 3 rounds of that all in all.
Yeah.
And then obviously one nice big dart sweep. People rolling under the car to clear out balls, picking up the reactor lights, etc. But like I said at the start, venue itself makes dart sweeps so much easier because the rival does tend to gather, so you can clear it nice and quick. And we tied it up and got out.
I think we did 3 or 4 dart sweeps, and neither of them seemed like a chore. Apart the last one always seems like a chore, just because, like you say, you're going under the car, you're finding random balls that we've missed from upstream.
You're hurting by that point.
Yes, yeah, very
you're going
much
after
so.
all the awkward nooks and crannies as well.
Yeah, knees have seized up.
So one thing to say about the venue is, because of the ramps, it is very hard work on your legs. It's a 3-hour event. There is like a full day at Dishworth in that it takes out of your legs. So
the video doesn't give you
the video does not give you the sense of what those ramps are like, especially when you're up and down and up and down.
Because you're actually going up a full level, in a not particularly long ramp.
No.
Therefore, it's got a certain angle. It's got a definite angle to it, and thankfully, you've got those gates there to slalom through. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure I'd fall on my length doing one of them.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know what angle the ramps are at, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher than 45 degrees to the vertical. They are very steep, and I agree with you, David. If the banister things weren't there, they would be quite dangerous for those of us that are prone to falling over. It
is a fairly compact venue. It's about 30 meters across by about 15 meters, but because you've got the 2 floors, it feels a lot bigger.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why I think half darts would be overpowered, just because
you'd be able to shoot from one side of the arena to the other.
You could go from one corner to the other without really worrying about accuracy. I still think it's worth a try, but I think it'll be probably short-lived and we won't do it more than once.
But you could always try it for the sake of saying, right, we've done it, we've proven the idea. But one of the other things off the back of episode 10's recording was the idea that the venue has a maximum capacity.
Yes.
Okay. And you said about 14 to 16 was that sort of sweet spot.
The venue's capacity is 20, and that is down to their fire regulations. We've done 9, 14, and 9, 19, and 14 now. And 19 was very target rich. 14 felt pretty much spot on. I reckon you can go another person per team without it feeling cramped or over the top.
Now, one of the things was when you're talking fire regulations, are you talking maximum amount of bodies in the building or maximum amount of bodies in that area? Because
in that area,
to use what was done at Anarchy, which was have shorter rounds, but have smaller teams and have 2 teams out and 2 teams in, and they're getting a chance to reload. So the games are potentially faster, they're more frequent, but one team is essentially, or 2 teams are essentially out, getting a chance to reload, and therefore games can be a bit faster. So, we're talking about short darts and target-rich environments. If you were to have smaller teams, more teams, but then have the short dart approach to it, which is, say, maybe 5 to a team with short darts across the entire arena, where, yes, your darts are going to be more accurate than your rival, but you're going to have less darts or less targets to shoot at. Would that be a viable option to try?
Possibly, yeah. There's certainly the space to do that. So we've used 2 different gear up areas. First, 1 and 3 we used for downstairs party area. Number 2 we used the upstairs area with the bar. So across both we could probably get 30 people, 40 people.
Getting that many players to attend would be in itself a problem.
but we'll
Especially
come to that when we cover
parking,
costs. There's probably what 20. No, not 20. Probably 10, 12 spots of car parking. But most people ride share anyway. So, yeah, it's an idea. It's not what I'm going to rush out to do.
No, I'm just suggesting.
My thinking with short darts is if Grim Up Nerf happens, people are in the area, maybe hire it for an hour and a half, just to try a short dart session then with whoever's still around. That's kind of my plan, but it's nothing concrete. It's nothing I'm going to rush out to do. And partly because they'll charge me a fortune from the 6 p.m., which I'll come to later on. But cost wise, it's not the most efficient cost wise. But yeah. So the game types we ran, I'm really happy with them. Obviously, kill confirmed, short time on the thing. Belt assault, I could have done with the boxes. Peking duck worked well, but some changes. Deathlight, it's an idea. Judgment Day, I really enjoyed. HVZ, I always enjoy. So I came away from the event very happy.
Great. I'm very pleased. That's one of the things is that, yeah, I mean, looking at and reading over them, I thought they were all quite interesting game types. And I think with a few tweaks, you could make them. Like I said, I really like the idea of doing the Deathlight one. That really sort of stands out as being quite an interesting one.
It's different to what we ever run because normally we run stuff that is very much team versus team or player versus player. This was very much. It's kind of almost pushback, but with zombies and or a bomb run kind of game.
It's almost
it was a bit more asymmetrical, wasn't it? I think, and that's what makes it unique. I think there is definitely a good game type in there. It's just finding the balance of where how many enemies there are and what those enemies can do.
I think for me that's why that one stands out as much because I'm not a fan of humans versus zombies. I've previously said that.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm pooing on it. It's not. Humans versus zombies is great. It's fun. It's it is a reliable, highly chaotic, energetic thing. I just don't like it because to me it's like you can't. I say win. I'm not talking about I don't play to win. As the three of you will attest, I'm not playing. I'm not a highly competitive individual, but I like the idea of having a goal to achieve.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it wouldn't matter to me if I scored more or less than the next team of three people, but the idea is here is something to actually achieve as opposed to just survive. Any horde style mission in a video game just always annoys me because I'm just like there's no objective, or there's nothing that I consider an objective that's worthwhile. It's just survive. Like no.
I think we do have a last surviving human here as well.
Oh yeah,
Stuart twice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of HVZ. I do enjoy it. It's a good palate cleanser. It's a good starter game.
Oh yeah, great, yeah.
But I do think there is an element of not being able to justify my meth toddling because I can be tagged very soon, and therefore the expensive blaster that I paid a fortune for that has meant I've had to eat canned soup for the last week of the month is then null and void, and I don't get a chance to use it. So when it works and when I survive quite a long time, I do enjoy it. Like at Highway to Hull or to Hull and back, whichever the first one was. I did really well, and there's an awesome bit of footage that you've edited there, Tartan. That's just Green Hornet catching me at the last minute, and you went slow mo, and it was just such a brilliant moment. But I got to use my Diana quite a lot for that one, so I enjoyed that more than I have done some others. But again, it's a good starter game. It's a good palate cleanser. It gets people going. It gets the heart rates up. So I definitely think it has a place, but I completely understand why people don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want I wouldn't want a venue to not run a HVZ just because of me. I would, like I said, I tend to use it as my opportunity to take photographs, because it's a case of just because it's not my sort of thing doesn't mean that I'm going to stand out and say, well, I'm not playing. I'll utilize it for something else I know that I can actually get some value out of afterwards there. And to me, it would be just, I think it's just more a case of I'm always interested in trying to have interesting things for videos, things that
Yeah.
are new gameplay types that can, if people can watch, they can be inspired by thinking, oh, I like that format. I'll go and steal that.
Yeah. Well, conversely, I'm a huge fan of Humans versus Zombies.
That's
However, it
because
goes,
you're
whether I
spry
win or
and
lose.
fast.
No, because I think it's in terms of blasters, as Boneheed said, it's a great leveler. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're running a
Yeah.
Percy's or if you're running a knockout, as long as you can reload the knockout fast enough.
Yeah.
It's a lot more about knowing your surroundings and
Yeah,
your wits for me.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the one thing that absolutely got me through this particular one, including an absolutely stunning nutshot on Darren.
There's that perfect aim we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yes.
One of my events with a nutshot.
And it's usually Darren that gets
But-
nutshot as well.
What I loved is I'd taken out all the zombies and I was there going, "Are you all right? Oh, you're right." He's there going, 5, 4, just like, pick it.
I think I've got you on video at when the Kill Factory or that was Kill Factory 12, I think it was, where you've got a gun blaster battle between you and Darren, and it's the same thing where you just unload it and you just catch him just over some greenery, and it's just them like doubled over on the ground going.
Yeah, his voice goes up an octave or two as well.
And also, didn't you do the same thing as well, Boneheed, at the same thing, at the same event where you've managed to? Well, it was a Phoenix from like the other end of the.
I think it was, yeah. I mean, I
cargo one.
know, I think it was at that event I hit Al square in the nuts with an XL dart, which he didn't really feel because it was XL at more than about 3 feet, and then managed to tag him on the nipple with a half dart. So I seem to be very good at hitting nipples, whereas Daz seems to be really good at getting shot in the nuts.
Well, we've all got to have our talents,
There's a joke in there about nipple-seeking darts, but I'm not going to make it. So
No,
yeah.
because we're going to be much more mature than that, aren't we?
Yes, we are, or we will have to spend the rest of the video in a tree.
One.
Oh dear.
Okay, so one of the things that was I think we've really sort of covered it, which is the 3D space, because for certain venues we're quite used to the sort of flat, everything's on the one level ground. We've got Dishforth where there's got occasional areas where there's higher and lower areas, but one thing that's quite prominent with the iBallz venue is that it is definitely
Multi-story, yeah.
multi-story. When we were at what was the one? Not Nerfmania. What was the other one?
Unit
there?
26.
That's
in Hull.
it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Unit 26. Okay. Unit 26. Again, it has
An upstairs.
an
Yeah.
upstairs, but it's not a connected upstairs.
No.
Or rather, it's a separate upstairs connected through a passageway. But with this one, it's very much a case of you can see up, you can see across and below. And how do you feel? All three is that the idea of the height plays into your ability to add more tactics, more. Do you think it actually adds something like an exponential factor to it, or do you think it's just more a case of a novelty? Is what I was trying to sort
It
of
definitely
lead
adds more
into as a
tactics
question.
to it, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the things that, I mean, particularly on the game when I was talking about where Bonehead and I were holding this one area at the top, to be honest, if they wanted to come and take us out, if there's some holes basically on the other side, somewhere in the middle, all it would have taken would have been one person to come in there with a good shot, and they would have had clear shots at Blind Geek and Sai or Boneheed and myself without any worries whatsoever. You're slipping again, Boneheed.
The novelty of that will wear off soon. Don't worry.
Oh, it wore off after the first one, mate. It wore off after the first one. Although
Look,
it
I'm
was
trying to be
very
held
well
on it.
done.
I'm getting old. I need to stand up from time to time.
Like a kid with a fidget spinner. But but the other thing that was happening on there is we saw Ross going down the ramp and trying to shoot up at us. So despite where he was, he had a really good spot. So it was really tricky to try and whittle him out of there. So,
yeah, I mean, I totally agree as well. I think on the Judgment Day game where we were covering that top little parapet, I did something similar on iBallz 2, but that was with Hazard's partner, where we were just up there suppressing the hell out of anyone trying to come near to one of the objectives. And myself and Supercollide did that at iBallz 3 to quite a decent effect, and it was a combination of blasters, but also the fact that you've got Overwatch on the area that people are actually trying to play in, as well as you've got the challenge of people shooting you from the other side. It obviously made you then think, right, do I need to be shooting up there or do I need to be shooting down? And we could obviously swap, take it in turns to do both.
And conversely, if you're on the lower floor, you're worrying about what's in front of you potentially shooting you and what's above you potentially shooting you.
Yeah, the amount of times I got tagged from up high and I was like, where the heck did that come from? In fact, there was one point where I was going across the back corridor and you, Blind Geek, got me through a little arrow hole from the ground floor. And I couldn't even be mad because it was a hell of a shot and it just came straight whistling through. I thought, oh, I'm safe here, whistling through, hit me in the back of the head. And I was like, I don't know where that came from, but bravo. Yeah, good shot. So yeah, there's very much a lot more angles of being tagged from to worry about. But at the same time, you've got more options as to where you can actually shoot.
Yeah. And the other thing is with the top layer as well, it's rare that you're getting we were getting just enough distance to get each other, whereas I know on iBallz 1, that was damn near impossible to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it might have just been down to blaster choice, but...
Possibly. I mean, I think it makes the venue feel a lot bigger than it is because you've got...
Because you haven't got the range to cover it all in one shot.
Like with Nerf Mania, you've got one raised area that is... a bit of a double-edged sword, but the rest of it is just flat and map, maze-like. Same with Unit 26, same with some of the other areas. You're only ever going to be getting pretty much shot from 2 dimensions, whereas with iBallz, because of that third, the different angles, it just feels like a much bigger venue than it is. And of course, it's a lot more hard work because you've got really steep ramps to go up and down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the venue. Definitely suits Rival.
From my point of view, it's pretty much unique. Obviously, I've used a lot of venues over the years. Nerf Mania's got the tower, which is a little bit of Unit 26 has the upstairs, but like you say, it's disconnected. Dishforth, you've got the berms to go through, so that takes out your legs, but there's no real verticality in the thing. Other than the big 5, if you're on the field side, you can shoot over. I know Owl's very good at doing that with his skewer into my back. So,
and the comms tower as well.
I've never played in the comms tower yet. So,
yeah, if you're in the skeleton area in the middle and you elect to go off to the side, you can sort of camp up at the comms tower, which only gives you maybe a meter of elevation, but it means that you've just got that slightly better angle for taking shots for the people that are behind cover. It's easier to spot them. Not much, but it's certainly not a clear advantage, but it's enough to make you go, actually, you know what, I'll swing past that way and camp out there with a sniper.
The only other venues that really ever come close to this, I think, are the skate parks. I don't know how many.
Hell yeah, when you think about it, absolutely, yeah.
But even then, the skate parks, you were generally in the dips and rarely shooting into them, whereas this, you're often shooting at both levels. So it's why I'm so happy to pay the extra to get the venue, because I think it is something that is pretty much unique for what we use. So.
I think the flip side of that, though, is yes, it's a good venue, but I think as much as I think it's perfect for the venue, I think Rival only does put some people off.
Yes.
Some people just don't like Rival,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is fair. But at the same time, that venue really shows off what Rival can do. So
Well,
it's,
would
again,
you?
it's,
And I know it's another niche ammunition type, but Vortex. Vortex is another sort of shorter distance ammunition. It has got its inherent range built into it because of the mechanism for firing it. Would you consider expanding
I
it to-
would.
Because
Um,
I think being able to camp out on one of the higher levels with like the slam fire pyragon and just lay waste, and just because they're slower, it's
And they
dodging
drift.
them is a little bit more of a challenge because you're used to the speed of things come in at, and they can tend to veer off quite easily. Might be worth a consideration. I mean, if
Easy.
you do a vortex only, you'll get nobody to turn up because it's such a niche ammunition type.
that's
You
the
know?
issue, isn't it? It's finding 16 people daft enough to have enough Vortex blasters to make a decent loadout.
No, that's even
And-
just
and all
16
of them are
people with
psycho.
Vortex blasters. Never mind a loadout, just a Vortex blaster.
Yeah.
Although let's be honest, 3 of them here have them, possibly 4 if Stu has one. Do you have a Vortex blaster?
One.
Okay, so there's at least 4 players that can attend a Vortex only event.
I
Adam-
could outfit a full event with Vortex.
Oh,
That
you
wouldn't be a
could.
problem.
Between the conversations that we've been having today, you could probably kit out a small army.
Yeah.
I could. Not with Vortex, but I could.
But the other option would be Ultra. Run Ultra only venue there. Nah,
I think
But-
with Ultra, you're in the same realms as Half Darts, though. I think the power that Ultra packs,
possibly.
I
Yes.
think
Given
you'd
the
probably do
conversations that
similar
we've had
ranges.
about the accuracy of the Ultra Aki strike, yeah, I think it's yeah, but see, the part of me says outage would be a good idea to try because it's a case of, I mean, as much as there is a running gag that I'm not part of the Ultra Bros, even though I've got the T-shirt. Part of me says, would I turn up with it? Yes, I would actually. The amp and magazines and just no, I'd do that.
He's trying his hardest not to be an Ultra Bro, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think Ultra.
is an Ultra Pro.
Yeah, I think for me,
I-
Ultra would also suffer the same thing as Vortex in that you wouldn't find enough people willing to run a
Yeah.
loadout with it.
Yeah.
And it's difficult enough filling an event with rivals. So,
Yeah.
but one reason I do the rival only is, for me, rival fell out of my usage. I used rival a lot at Wolfpack. I found rival at Kill Factory was amazing because pistol was king there. So takedown, roundhouse, Artemis were amazing. Went to Nerf Mania, and it just fell out of favour. My Jupiter wasn't as good because rival at those kind of distances, Nerf Mania wasn't good. And I started moving towards short dart. So I like running iBallz as rival only because it's when I get to use rival. So, yeah.
And there are some absolutely lovely rival blasters as well, let's be fair.
Most of them.
Most of them, I mean, some of them aren't fantastic, some of them I don't particularly like, but there are enough. It's only
There's
a small
something
set
for
of rival
everyone,
blasters,
yeah.
but there's something for everyone, and it's, some of them are sort of universally loved, like the takedown, like the
Kronos.
the Kronos, like the
Artemis.
Artemis.
Perseus.
And then some of them are a bit more niche, like the Monolith. But like you say, there's something for everyone, and there's enough there that you can try something. You don't like it, try something else. You might like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know I wanted a Saturn from like when I first got into the hobby, 5 years ago. And thank you, Adam, for letting me take your one off your hands for you. But to be honest, would I run it? Yes, I absolutely would. I don't care if I'd have to be working my way carefully around corners because of the length of it. It's a feel.
It's beautiful. It's one of those things. It annoys me that it isn't for me because I really wanted to like it, but I'd never had a use for it because the takedown was better or the forerunner was better for me. and it was just so long I couldn't transport it anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's gone to a better home, and I'm happy for it. But at the same time, I really
want one.
fancy. I want the Shiny kit where you can turn it into a lever action Saturn. That is kind of a dream.
The thing for me with the Saturn, I see it very much in the same light as I see my Slab. I love it. I'm glad I own it. Would I run it in a war? Probably not, because it's just not as practical as other blasters.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and I'm glad I own one. I will never give mine away, like you did. But it's one of those things. It's probably only going to be for the collection or for looking at and admiring from a distance with a beer, because it's awesome.
Whereas I'd still run something ridiculous. Like if I could get hold of a pilot without having to go through a load of hassle, I'd probably run a pilot one of the entire rounds of iBallz, because basically it's fun.
Yeah. Somebody had a pilot, and I can't remember who was.
Benji's got one that is converted to half dart. I believe he brought that over from America, though, on a trip to see family.
Possibly,
so
yeah,
that's the issue. It's getting one from the US, because the prices on places like Blaster Time are, would you like to remortgage for this one single shot blaster? And I'm a meth toddler, but I'm not that meth toddly enough, quite frankly.
You have to
you
make
still
it big
need
enough
to
order to make it
occasionally.
worthwhile. Yeah.
Imaginary girlfriend will actually still go through you if you basically have no money. Having not much money is fine. No money whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, she's already made comments that I need to find a different storage solution because they are in danger of falling over and killing her while she's at work in my spare bedroom. So, yeah, perhaps not get stuff I don't need that's considerably more expensive.
Never stopped you before.
Supercollide subtly there pointing out that I have 2 X-Shot Fury X's.
I don't have any yet. Because I don't like reloading in my armpit.
Oh, well, you don't on this. You reload your forearm. It's there.
Yeah.
It is a nice blaster. It takes long shot parts. I've got one that's stock, and I've got one that's got long shot spring and barrel in it. And I've recently added the stock mounts from Silver Fox Industries, printed by FIB for me. Quite nice of them. And it takes a recon.
Promotion.
Yes, I might get a discount at some point if I keep mentioning them. And it takes
you need to buy them enough energy drinks.
You've probably bought enough for them to buy several 3D printers from everything that they've bought.
Yeah. I'm not saying I've bought a lot of fib gear, but I'm also not saying that Ross didn't throw in a free first mate when I ordered some Lidl Dynamic stuff a few months ago. But yeah, with the stock mount on the Fury, it takes a recon stock really well, and it's just the right kind of size for my arms at least. So it works well. So I would recommend it. It's a cheap blaster. It's easy to mod, and it packs a punch. But you do have to reload your wrist. And
the simple thing is as well, just get a 14+1 if you can get it, as long as you can guarantee that. And actually, for 9 times out of 10, you're not going to need to mod it.
No, but the point there is, if you did want to mod it up to 200 FPS, you could easily put the big long shot spring in it. It will take it, and the internals are strong enough to survive being primed. It'll be a heavy prime, but you can do it.
That's pretty much what I'm doing. I ended up with an 8+1 and a 14+1, and the 8+1 is just going to get a bigger spring in it.
Yeah,
and I just got to make sure that I want it to be just under 200.
Yeah, well, the one I got, the 8+1 I just taped up the plunger tube because there's a hole in the plunger tube. Put the old long shot spring in it that I'd taken out of my 200 FPS long shot, and the same with the barrel. And I've now put a collar on it, and I've spent far too much money on a very, very cheap blaster. But yeah, meth toddler.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back on topic.
Yes.
Why? We've never done it before now.
Always the first time.
I think that's perfect opportunity to do this. I need some like intermission music or something, don't I? Just for while that's doing.
Just some really, really cheap elevator music,
My lovely horse in the background.
Yeah. Okay, so I personally think we've sort of covered everything that we set out to cover on this. I know one of the things that we wanted to do was talk about the future for the venue.
Yes.
But I think, Adam, there was a few other bits and pieces you were alluding to during it. So across to yourself, mate.
So one thing we were going to discuss was costs.
Indeed, yes.
So iCombat is not a cheap venue. For a 3 hour session, we're talking £300. So obviously we had 15 players at £18. So I did make a loss, but then there was also 1,500 extra rival round into the pool. There was for reactor lights. There was the boxes for the Vault Assault. There was a lot of props this time. So as an
And
event
that's where
goes,
Adam's a meth toddler.
yes,
Yes.
For the props.
Yes.
So as an event goes, it's an expensive event to run. The other issue is the site generally wants the deposit up front. So luckily, because we've used them a few times now, that's deposits now coming down for how much we have to pay up front because they know we're reliable. The other issue is the times we can get and the costs for those times. So we have a iBallz 4 planned for Saturday, the 10th of May, which happens to be my birthday, my 45th birthday, as if the grey isn't bad enough already. So there are still, I think, one official spot left on that, but there may be more if people want more. Now, we've booked it again for 6 till 9. I queried whether we could get 5 till 8, and the price went up to ridiculous amounts. You could buy a Saber for what they wanted to charge me.
For an hour's difference.
Yeah, because that 5 till 6 slot is their prime time. So
people finishing work, I suppose, isn't it, and finishing school and
yeah. So I don't mind that they were going to charge me more because it meant I could justify the 6 till 9. It's just annoying because if we did want to do a short dart one after Grim Up Nerf, it'd be very expensive. So swings and roundabouts. But yeah, so it's an expensive venue, but it's one I'm fairly happy to pay for. The venue itself is in decent nick, unlike some of the other venues
ones that we've spoken about. Yep.
Where there's either mold or wet floors or things like that. So the staff who we deal with at the site are nice. One of them has her own Nerf stuff and would have been quite happy to join us. Dealing with the owners of iCombat as a whole is a little bit difficult. They're not the easiest to get in touch with and get a response from. But that's most venues, to be honest. But yeah, so iBallz 4 in May. We have, like I say, I think I've put 16 places up and we have 15 booked at the moment. We're going to try Peking Duck again with 2 ducks and shorter respawns, possibly just for one with duck. I haven't figured it out yet. We're going to try Vault Assault with the boxes. We're going to try Juggernaut. So Modge is going to turn up, hopefully, if he can get the time off, with his Prometheus with its Godhopper. Which means that it has a capacity of 1,200 rounds at 8 rounds per second. So our Juggernaut game is you get your hand on the Juggernaut, you control them, and you can direct them to shoot wherever you want to. But if they get hit, they go into shutdown mode, you've got to get your hand back on them, etc. So that's iBallz 4. Book your place now. But by the time this goes out, I'm expecting that slot to have gone. Yeah, it's when I first hired venue for iBallz 1, I didn't expect to go back. The music put me off. There's no natural spawn points in it because it's designed for kids just running around for 20 minutes and kind of a free-for-all with laser tag. So over the events, we've kind of learned the venue. We've learned where best to place things. I felt this time it ran a lot better than the last two times. But at the same time, none of us really improved the gear, but it felt like the gear had improved. And I think
you just made better choices there.
Yeah. Really. That might be it. So, like, first event, I brought a Helix, and it wasn't as good. I brought a Jupiter on the first event, and yeah. So, yeah, it's an event that I'm happy with, but with some small issues. Some of the games didn't work as planned. Some people ran stuff that was a little hotter than I'd like, and they will no longer be invited back. But yeah.
There it is. Any other comments then? Things that we've not already discussed?
Not from me. Like I say, I'm happy with the event, how it ran. I'm happy with the game types. There were some issues, but there always is. I'm happy with most of the players who turned up. Especially, like, I think it was Paige's first.
I think it was
older event. I don't think she's ever played at 11 plus at Bring Up Nerf. So
no, Josh came to iBallz too, but obviously there was Josh and Paige this time. So yeah I think that was her first.
Obviously, it was your nephew's second event, and he seems to fit in a lot better this time than he did first time.
Yeah,
he wasn't trying to wear the silly gas mask this time.
Yeah. There's a reason for that. I'll tell you the story when we're no longer rolling, but there is a reason he wasn't wearing the gas mask. So I don't want to embarrass him if he does watch this video. But yeah, he did suggest it and then decided it was a bad idea. So yeah.
And I think the other thing that helped this time was the games were close. And Stuart's touched on this already. Every game could have gone a different way at the flip of a tile or a different handful of coins. And I love those kind of games and those kind of events because like I say, I don't care if I lose. If everyone's having fun, that's a good event. So.
Yeah. I think that's something that we've sort of spoken about previously, which is the people that want to be highly competitive, let them be highly competitive. On you go. Play the objective, go run your heart out, play to win. I'm going to have fun. I'm still going to put some effort in, but I'm going to be more interested in having stories to tell, things that look interesting on the video than we steamrolled you, haha, we won. No, I'd rather lose or draw and have felt like that was a really good game. Yeah. Because I'm just not that competitive person anymore. When I was 20, I was highly competitive. Nowadays, I'm just like, I don't care. Whatever. Have fun.
It comes back to the usual sort of nerf adage of you nerf you at the end of the day. I'm very much the same. I'd rather have a close game and have fun than win at all costs.
Objective.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely. I don't do playing the objective unless the objective is to shoot people because Meth Toddler, I've bought things I want to fire at people.
Yes. Team Deathmatch is his favourite for a reason.
Yes. So yeah, it's all down to you play your style. As long as one person doing their thing doesn't spoil it for the rest of you, I think that's a successful.
So do you think we should just nominate you to be the juggernaut?
If Modge is happy for me to take a 1,200 round Prometheus round and just generally empty it in everyone's general direction, I would more.
You
more
will get absolutely pelted, though.
Oh no! Anyway,
another news.
That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I have a tactical cod piece.
Oh, I can just imagine that.
I wear some nipple covers. I've got a tactical cod piece. We're all good. Don't ask me why I have those things.
Please tell me that you're going to wear more than just the nipple covers and a tactical cod piece. Because where
would the fun in that be?
It's quite cold in the venue.
Yeah.
No, it just appears that way.
One thing we have
I
got
get
to
your
mention
point.
is we did have the smoke machine on as well this time.
Oh yes, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So they have. It's not, in fairness, it's not a smoke machine. It's a fog machine. The difference, obviously, is that it doesn't set off the fire alarms. So it basically you press a button, it dumps out 30 or 40 seconds worth of fog, which then drifts upwards. Which on the first game, no main lights, fog coming out. It really was hard to see who you were shooting at, and I loved that. I'm glad we only did one of it.
Yeah, I think
otherwise I would have fallen down every round.
Yeah, it was just too difficult to see. The fog machine, I imagine, is very similar to what you see if you go and see a band that has smoke on stage. It's that sort of thing, I believe.
I think it's a bit denser. I think,
right?
Than, although I'm speaking as being someone who would be on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks very similar the way it spews out the fog, but I'm not a professional in that sphere, so or any sphere really. But that's
You bet me to the wine.
Spending money,
spending money on shit I don't need.
This cough is doing my knife. Right. So I think that more or less wraps up the episode, chaps.
Yep.
Again, one final shout out for any final comments, thoughts, or anything business-wise. No?
I think it might just be worth mentioning that Adam's mentioned Grim Up Nerf, just basically saying we're still in the game. We've just had some issues with the venues, but it might be that when we get back up and running on things again, we might have more of the old crew back together again.
All right.
Which would be fantastic to see and do. But yeah, at the moment we've had a few niggles with the venues and a few people needing to go move house and change jobs and things. So it's just taking a back seat while we get those sorted.
It's life. It happens. One of the annoying things with being an adult is that stuff gets in the road.
Yep. Yeah, we were half hoping for the 8th of March, but that's definitely fallen through.
All right. Well, no doubt we can make sure that we get a mention for whenever the next event happens. We can give you a wee spotlight and probably get some footage from it, no doubt, because Boneheed will probably turn up.
I'll have my ears on. Yeah,
indeed, absolutely.
Not these ones.
Sarah, I'll just leave this in just now. Sarah was in shopping today, and Sarah got herself a little headband that's got 2 particular ears on it that she wants. So she's going to take them off the headband and put them onto her hat. So yeah, you've managed to convince another person to put ears on their stuff.
Yeah, I think Blue asked me at the last Grim Up Nerf. He asked me because he'd got his daughter in tow. He asked me where I got the ears from. So I sent him the link. So I suspect his daughter will turn up at some point with purple fluff. Well, it may not be purple, but she will also have Boneheed style ears on at some point for the next Grim Up Nerf, I hope.
That'll be fine then.
It's spreading. Wahahaha.
Just blame Friday.
Yeah, but it kind of feels bad blaming somebody that's not here to defend himself. But let's be honest, that's never stopped us before.
I blame Boneheed whenever he's not around.
Well, we blame you for putting the ideas in our head that we should buy more blasters.
Yeah.
Even when you're not on Discord to tell us about it, it's just like it's still Adam's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. He's led to many of my. He's led to most of my meth addiction. I'll be honest.
Led to most people's, in fairness.
Yeah.
The enabler. Isn't that what we used to call you?
Yep.
The dealer.
Yes.
Well,
no, because we're not buying the things from him. He's just making the suggestions and leading us to the water. And we're all very thirsty. Yeah.
How about you bought quite a few things from him though?
I bought old for collection stuff. I don't think I bought anything for use at a game. Actually, no. The dump pouch that
seems like splitting hairs at the best.
The dump pouch that I swapped with Supercollide was from Adam, and my normal half dart chest rig is from Adam. But most of the blasters I bought from him are things like Mega, some Vortex. I believe I bought a pair of Mavericks from him that I intend to make into Mayflies if I ever get round to it. Stuff that I probably wouldn't ever use at an event, but I wanted. Generally, if it's something I think I'm going to use, I'll try and go new. But that doesn't stop Adam from saying, "Oh, have you seen this that's come out?" And then where did I put my credit card? Yeah.
And then trying to blame us for not stopping you for buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ears, by the way, are not Nerf related. These belong to imaginary girlfriend. Honest. They're not mine. Honest.
Very fetching.
So what we'll do, we'll wrap it up there then. So I'll just say thank you. This has been episode 11 of Tag Talk. Thank you to my guest this evening, and we'll see you all for episode 12. Good night.